Hello ladies and gentlemen, this is Santtu Pesonen from the Santtu Pesonen Project, and welcome to part 2 of the making of Devil Ex Machina. Today I'll be covering how I went about doing the drums for the EP. Enjoy! So since going back to Reaper in 2016 for recording Poetry for the Lost, I started looking for ways to improve the sound of my drums on my productions. Now, in case you aren't aware, the first 6 albums that I did, basically my debut EP through all the way to Roots, I had a single microphone setup for recording the drums. I figured it wasn't ideal for the improvements that I wanted to make to my sound, but sadly enough that I didn't have the budget to upgrade my recording setup at the time, and I didn't exactly want to waste money on a virtual drum plugin either. So what I ended up going with was this freeware drum plugin called MT Power Drum Kit 2 by Manda Audio. And you know, it served me well enough, and it sounds great, so go figure. The only downside to MT Power Drum Kit 2, in my opinion, is that the bass drum is a little weak. In fact, for Poetry for the Lost I had to boost it by quite a few decibels for it to be even barely audible. So for Devil Ex Machina I slapped a compressor onto the bass drum, set it to 80-ish% internally in the program, that is. But otherwise I did basically no processing whatsoever within the program itself on the drums. Now recently I've gotten into the habit of arranging my songs in Guitar Pro before starting to record them in any way. Now for Poetry for the Lost back in 2016, basically I programmed the drums in Reaper, but it took a fuck ton of time to do that. I spent like 2 hours on average per song just programming the fucking drums. So for Devil Ex Machina, the way I went about doing the drum parts, I exported the arrangement from Guitar Pro as a MIDI file. Then I imported that onto a track in Reaper. I deleted every other track except for the drum track. I slapped the plugin MT Power Drum Kit onto it. Then I listened back to the MIDI drums, edited them where necessary, where I saw fit. Then I made 5 audio tracks. I took the MIDI track, routed sends from it onto the 5 audio tracks, and then I recorded the drums onto the audio tracks and deleted the MIDI track. I also did a 6th audio track for the drums called Room, which is essentially what it sounds like. It's supposed to like emulate a room microphone for the drums. So the way I went about doing the Room drum track was I set up sends from the 5 audio tracks: kick drum, snare drum, hi-hats, overheads, toms. I set up sends from those 5 audio tracks onto the 6th audio track, and then I recorded them all over each other onto the new audio track. Now the main reason I went with, you know, a drum plugin as opposed to live drums played and recorded by myself with a single microphone was that, first and foremost, I wanted to improve my sound and also my mixing skills while I was at it. And I had 2 rules of thumb that I had in mind while I did the drums for Poetry for the Lost and Devil Ex Machina. Rule 1, it has to sound like my own style of playing. Rule 2, it can't be anything I couldn't play myself. And that's basically it for today's episode. I hope you enjoyed, and stay tuned for part 3.